Yo, what's up guys, Nandra here. Today's video is going to be a little bit differently. It's going to be done a little bit differently in that I'm not going to actually show you any games, but today I will be going ahead and talking a little bit about deck building. So, to me, from having played for so long, deck building is to be honest, it's an art form sort of, in that you really see the people who do well, technically, who do well for the most part, usually tend to be both good builders and good pilots. You can be a good pilot and not a good builder, and you can be a good builder but not a good pilot, because there's a lot of like core internal I guess thought processes that goes into deck building and concepts that you can take from other games, such as, for example, that card draw is good, search power is good, as well as common concepts as well as other additional concepts like having an idea of what you want your win con to be, as well as just knowing that, okay, well, I should have a win con in my deck. So today's video, I'm just gonna go ahead and build a deck from scratch, and I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about what goes into each of the pieces that I go ahead and include into said deck. I was going to do this with Dragon, but obviously not everyone plays Dragon, so I think I'm gonna pick. Because I actually don't have that many cards right now, so I think I'll go ahead and pick. I don't want to pick Sword because I also don't have Sword cards right now, so I think I'll go ahead and pick. Say. Alright. I'm just gonna go with Shadow. Okay. So I'll do two of these really quickly. The first one will be for Nephthys Shadow, and then the second one will be for Mid Shadow. I'll probably just end up doing this both in the same video in order to save time. But I might also split it up into two different videos if this part takes a while. All right, so we'll go ahead and start off with Nephthys Shadow because that one's easier for me. Alright, so right off the back, because it's Nephthys Shadow, my win con is going to be Nephthys as well as Mordecai. So we'll go ahead and scroll over to that first. Okay, so first I just put in two Nephthys. The reason why I put 2 and not 3 is because Nephthys is a brick if you can't play it on turn 8. So you only want to have 2 because you already have to play 3 Mordecai, just because Mordecai is going to be the card that you search off with Nep, and you always want to be able to hardcast your Nephthys more than you want to be able to hardcast your Mordecai, just because Mordecai is very, very difficult for a lot of decks to deal with, and you want to be able to cheat him into play as much as possible, because that's gonna be how you win. Now, for a very, very long time, there was a lot of debate as to whether you would go 3 Mordecai, 2 Nephthys, 3 Mordecai, 3 Nephthys, or 3 Mordecai, 2 Nephthys. For me personally, at the moment, I really like 2 Mordecai, 3 Nephthys, or sorry, 2 Nephthys, 3 Mordecai, because you have additional ways to cheat out Mordecai's now, in that of Death's Ledger, as well as the fact that you can retain Evas pretty easily for the most part. So hard casting Mordecai is less of a pain. Additionally, I really don't like drawing Mordecais, and those tend to happen. But at least if I can at least cheat out one Mordecai, then he takes pressure off of me having to hard cast the second and the third Mordecai if it gets to that. Another important thing is okay. For Nephthys specifically, your curve is going to be is going to be very particular. You're most likely either going to be 2 3 7 8 because that's the most consistent one, 2 3 4 7 8, or 2 4 7 8. Special shoutouts to the honorary 3 4 7 8 Spellnep. I don't want to play Spellnep because right now having creatures is really important early. And with Spellnep, you basically just play removal spells until you go to turn 4, and then where you play Ledger, and then you try to win from there. However, I feel like aggro will eat you alive if you try to go for that strat. So for now, we're gonna go with 2 3 7 8 because that's the most consistent. Additionally, there's slight bias because your 3 cost has Grimnir in it as well as Kaiser who gives carrots, and those 2 cards are very good. All right, so the other three, yeah, the other important part of this deck is knowing exactly what your win con does. So for Nephthys, if you haven't seen it, let me go and click. All right, so Nephthys is fanfare, or yeah, 8 PP 5/5 fanfare. Randomly put followers of different costs, excluding Nephthys, from your deck into play until your area is full. Then destroy these followers. So you want to be playing as many last word followers as possible, just because you want your Nephthys to get you a lot of value, because your Nephthys before anything happens, it's basically a deck thin for 4. So you essentially quote unquote draw 4 cards, and then with the last word effects, you want them to be able to do something relevant. Usually, you want it to be able to do something on board, just because a lot of times that's how you win games in Shadowverse. They just they can impact the board every turn. So for this reason, we're gonna go ahead and throw in 3 Underworld Watchman Cowie. The reason why you add Cowie is because Cowie is not only a ward, but he's also one of the trickiest minions in the game to remove, because if you can develop him into a board and they can't cleanly clear it, then he's gonna usually go 2 for 1 or 1 for 1, and then also get you a heal at the same time, and that's really important, because with this deck you're gonna take some damage early because your creatures aren't always the best. Another thing is we're gonna throw in 3 Death's Breath, just because with Death's Breath it gives you wards, which again is important because this lets you survive a little bit longer, and helps you safely transition to nap. If you can make it to turn 8, you usually just kind of win the game, because the tempo swing of you getting 10/10 worth of stats and then you killing their biggest target and getting a heal is usually a lot for decks to overcome. So we're just going to go down the list here. Alright, Death Ledger. Now, this is a fork in the road, so to speak, because you can play Death Ledger in Nephthys and you can play without it. For me personally, I like playing with it just because it gives you some options in the mid game and helps you try to apply pressure. Because Death's Ledger, if you get a 2/3/4 play of a 2-drop minion, Kaiser, into Ledger, you get enough shadows to play Death's Breath on 6, and that kind of smooths you perfectly into turn 7 Cowie and then turn 8 Nephthys. And again, once you reach turn 8 for Nephthys, that's how you win the game. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw in at least 2 of these, and then we'll go ahead and look back and come back later and see if we have space for a third. Again, this is going to be 2 3 7 8. So So as far as creature goes, I'm only allowed I'm only allowed to play creatures up to 3, 7, and 8 costs. And for your 8 costs, we already have the Mordecai and the Nephthys as well as the Cowie. So that's all the late game that we should have. Just because Mordecai, he doesn't die. He's like the best. He's like the best they could do for late game win condition. So we really just want to focus on shoring up our early game as much as possible. So we're gonna go ahead and throw in Chief Foul Tempest. Foul Tempest is really nice because it's wave clear, and it really helps you get into the later stages of the game. Because we're playing Ledger in this, we're locked out of playing any Shadowcraft followers, which is fine because the neutral followers that we can play are also good as well. So we'll just go ahead and look at those. We're gonna go ahead and throw in Grimnairs. Grimnairs win games. Grimnair also lets you. Grimnair after. All right, so after you've played Mordecai, you can play Grimnair, and that'll be 9 damage on turn 10, and that's really nice. We'll also probably play Kai'Sa. I don't think I'll be playing 3 Kai'Sa in this. Although 3 Kai'Sa is really good, I just don't think I'll be playing it in this. We'll be playing 3 Zombie Party. Zombie Party is really good. It allows you to apply a lot of pressure, and it's also a premium removal in that at 2 PP it does 3 damage, and there are a lot of things right now that you need to be able to kill, and that just lets you kill them perfectly. All right. We're also gonna be playing Lurching Corpse. The reason why we're gonna be playing Lurching Corpse is that it gives you a target for your ledger early. This is nice because again you want your ledger to be impactful, and the reason why Lurching Ledger in my opinion is better is because it deals with aggro a lot better, whereas Lich Ledger is really good versus mid range decks as well as control decks. However, again, because you want to try to tech towards aggro, because you can already beat mid range and most control decks with Mord, just because the only two classes the only 2 to 3 classes that have banishes. One of those classes isn't even using its banish anymore, and the other 2 classes you can kind of overwhelm them with the rest of the stuff that your deck is doing. So we're gonna go ahead and toss in 3 Lurching Corpses. The reason why we currently have 3 Lurching Corpse and two Ledger is because early on, if you if you see a corpse, because you're pretty likely to see that, then every Death's Ledger past your first one is usually kind of dead. So you only really want to see one. So you only really want to see one of these ledgers. Alright, so here we're going to toss in Lyriel as well. Lyriel is a really nice card because Lyriel is a swing card Evo. These are important because you're going to get to a lot of points late in the mid game where sometimes your opponent will value trade into you, but their card will be at like 1 HP or something like that, and you can go ahead and go Lyriel Evo and then get a chief one. This is nice, and this is also important because you want to be able to get as many 2-for-1s as possible, just so that way you come out relatively unscathed, and then you can play Cowie, and then you can just kind of win. We're also going to throw in 2 soul conversions. Right, so we're throwing in 2 soul conversions because we already have Lurching Corpse. However, some decks don't actually play wards that early. Like for example, a lot of regressive decks don't actually play wards early. But with soul conversion as well, with soul conversion, we can kind of alleviate that fact and go ahead and activate our Lurching Corpse on the fly when we need to for 3 mana. And that does come in handy a lot of times. Additionally, after you get to 8 PP, you can also go Cowie plus Soul Conversion and a pinch to uh to to immediately sacrifice your Cowie, kill their guy, heal, and then draw 2 cards all at once. And this is really nice. It's a really nice swing card. Alright, so we have 9 slots left. At the moment, as you can see, we're clearly missing removals, so we're going to go ahead and throw in a little bit more removal. The first thing that we're going to add is Soul Hunt. Soul Hunt is nice because in the event that you brick and you don't see creatures early, because in order to get Death's Breath activated on curve, you need to see at least 2 creatures, and then you need to see at least 2 playable creatures on turn 2 and 3, and then you also need to see Ledger on 4. However, in the event that this occasionally doesn't happen, because that is a common thing, then you want to have the Soul Hunt. Soul Hunt is essentially, it's a removal that also gives you an additional shadow for playing it. So it's 3 PP, remove a target, sorry, deal 3 damage to a target, and then get 2 shadows. And this is really nice because it really helps make your Death's Breath consistently activate its necromancy. Another card that we're going to toss in is we're going to toss in 1 Voice of Resentment. It might be 2, depending on what happens. However, I'm still undecided. I'm still looking for what else we can play. The reason why Voices is good because after turn 8, usually your opponent will be either trying to ward and or when will usually be either trying to ward or they'll be trying to outfludge you, so that way they can ignore your Mordecai and kill you. Voices is good because for 8 PP you can kill off 2 wards because the ghost will have Bane, and early on it functions as 2 pings, and this is really nice. Now, before we add in any more removals, it's important to realize that right now we only have 4 creatures on turn 2 that we can play, so we're gonna have to add in a few more of those. Again, they have to be neutral because you want to make your Death Ledger pull out a Lurching Corpse on 4. So we're gonna toss in Actress Faria. Actress Faria is actually nice because right now neutrals are pretty common, and if we play this early, our opponent might mistake us for a different deck, and they might play differently. This is nice because we can go ahead and abuse that fact, and we can go ahead and also use it on turn 4 with Carrot in order to make Kaiza a 3/3, or sorry, in order to make the Carrot a 3/3, and that'll be nice for additional trading power. And then now we're down to 3 slots left. Excuse me, sorry about that. Alright, so generally at this point in deck building, when you have 3 slots left, you can usually try to go off course a little bit and try to add in your own personal text and whatnot. Like for example, one card that I actually want to play and I'm actually gonna go ahead and try out in this list is Explosion. Explosion is nice because Nephthys Shadow doesn't have AoE, or it doesn't have that much AoE. Like you're limited to Foul Tempest, but Foul Tempest is conditional. Granted, you can meet that condition fairly easily. However, having extra redundancy is nice, And right now, AoEs are also pretty nice as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add in one explosion. Also, the artwork on animated explosion is actually pretty funny. So, all right, so now we're down to 2 cards left, and I'll actually just make my last 2 cards Unicas, just because I really want to have turn two creatures. And Unica is nice because Unica functions as a pseudo ward. Additionally, I'm also gonna swap the numbers on my Unica as well as my Faria, just because Unica later can always heal me, whereas Faria will always need an Evo before she can get good. All right, so let's go and look at the finished product. Yeah, it's pretty simple and to the point. You just, you play anti-aggro tools, you go ahead and you maybe build up a board, you try to play Death Ledger on 4. The Death Ledger on 4 is important because on turn 5, you can, when you force your opponent to kind of skip a turn, you can play super aggressively and then transition from there. It's important that you try to like not rely on Mordecai to win you every single game, and that you just try to play to the board as possible, and that you just kind of wear your opponent out, like grind them out, and just abuse the tempo swings from Mordecai. Or sorry, not from Mordecai. The tempo swings from Nephthys, because Nephthys is again a really good finisher type card because you're gonna be pulling a lot of cards from your deck. You're also gonna be pulling you're also gonna be putting Mordecai into play, Cowie into play, and that's just really strong. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll go ahead and do one for Shadowcraft next week, or not Shadowcraft, for mid-range Shadow next week. But yeah, go ahead and leave me your thoughts down in the comments below on basically how would you build NEP if you were building NEP from scratch. And yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll catch you guys next week. See